Back to Zoom. Okay, looks like we're live. So what we're going to do now is say, probably nobody's going to be there yet, but let's say hi in case we have anybody here on YouTube. And then when you're going to share, is it working? Susan, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it says waiting for embodied biotensegrity.
Oh, shoot, it's not, I've got it live. Okay, so what we're going to have to do, Susan, is I don't know what to do.
It is working. I see it.
Susan, will you take the link from?
Let me. I'm going in again. This is the link from Twitter.
Okay, is it working for you?
Where did you link from, Mariana?
From the one here on the top.
Not the Zoom link.
No, not the Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to go into Twitter and
this is the link I've been tweeting out.
Okay.
I just went into YouTube and just typed in embodied biotensegrity, saw it. It says live, and we're all talking.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'll monitor this in case anybody writes anything.
Okay, great. And I am just putting our link into a new YouTube tweet for you, Susan, without a picture. And then Gwen, let us know when we're ready to go on Facebook. New system. So it's harder.
Yeah. So I have shared, but it's showing up as a link, so people will still need to go to YouTube.
Okay, Mariana,
you're still muted. I think everyone can unmute now, hey?
Yeah.
We've got 3 people watching on YouTube, so those of you on YouTube, thank you for joining us and welcome.
So are you able to share? You're not able to share Facebook?
I shared to Facebook, but now it's basically a picture on Facebook. It's not live, so they still have to click the link to watch on YouTube.
So
that's the way it'll.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we can't have questions from Facebook then.
Everyone can unmute now, hey? Oh.
3 people.
Okay. Somebody needs to go into their YouTube and turn the volume down. Okay, let's just begin.
Hello, welcome to Technical Difficulties.
Thanks, Gwen. Why don't you, Gwen, say a big hello to everyone before you go and check out what's going on in Facebook. Can't hear you.
Oh, technical difficulties. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our YouTube live on why biotensegrity. We're so glad that you're able to join us. I'm pretty excited about this conversation. I am Gwen, and I come from the unceded territory of the Kootenai Nation here in the Kootenays of BC. And I work alongside Chris in embodied biotensegrity.
Okay, and I'm Chris Morita Clancy, coming to you from the unceded territories of the Coast Salish Nation. I live in Deep Cove, which is just outside of Vancouver, BC in Canada. And today we're so happy to welcome our special and awesome guests here to cover the topic, why biotensegrity? Now, so we have today with us Susan Lowell de Solórzano. Say hi, wave hi, Susan. Graham Scarr. We've got Maria Gomez. Is Jeremy here? Maybe, maybe not. Jeremy Mossman, Kamila Mortova, Leah Boulter, and Mariana Barreto. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you're on Facebook, please share. If you're on YouTube, please help us get the word out, because we're super excited about delving into this question, why biotensegrity, with all of you. And we've got a couple people monitoring for questions or comments. So I'm going to open the floor and invite all of our guests to stay muted, but to unmute when you want to add something to the conversation. And we'll be able to pass the mic, I think, quite seamlessly. There's not too many of us here. We're going to begin with Graham Scarr. So Graham, I guess I should introduce you. Graham Scarr is an author, osteopath, biologist, and the author of Biotensegrity, The Structural Basis of Life. Graham, I want to ask you, why is biotensegrity important?
Big question. And well, we've all been taught that the body consists of bones and muscles and a brain and kidneys and liver and all that. And that each of these includes smaller tissues like fascia, cells, and molecules. In other words, the body is described as a vast collection of lots of little bits that rapidly increases when we look at the details. And it soon becomes hopelessly complicated to understand it all because of that. We can drown in the amount of information that's thrown at us. And of course, we all have our own interests and know a lot about our particular field. But how often do we find that the textbooks are lacking in their explanations, or that the things we observe in everyday practice just don't make sense, but no one seems to know why? Now, biotensegrity offers something different to the standard way of looking at the human body and the whole of biology, because it is a conceptual framework for understanding how every part relates to every other part and how they can function in the way that they do. And it is founded on some basic principles of self-organization. Living organisms had a long time to figure out the best and most energy efficient way of doing things through evolution. And it makes sense to think that they must have something in common. And of course, at the most basic level, they do, which is where biotensegrity comes in. So the simple tensegrity models that you may have seen and perhaps puzzled over are physical representations of those basic principles, and the best place to start understanding our bodily structure and how it functions. Because the models help to explain how simplicity can evolve into complexity, because it is the most energy efficient way of resolving all the huge number of processes that are going on inside us at every moment. And biotensegrity provides a solution to properly understanding that. That's my take on that, Chris.
Thank you, Graham. There's so much in there. So I'm going to pick up this one point of how, with a conventional model, we come across these so many things that are unexplained, or we can't help our clients, or we can't explain what we experience in our bodies, and ask somebody else to unmute and to offer their why. Maybe somebody that wants to follow right up on this topic of something didn't work before, and with biotensegrity, I've got more solutions. Hi, go ahead, Jeremy, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here and see all of you again. It's been so long. I missed so much of the education I was receiving with you all, but it hasn't ended really, because it keeps unfolding on itself and becoming fuller and fuller and fuller. So even though I haven't actually seen y'all in a while, I feel like I'm still learning with and through and because of you. And like you were just saying, I feel like I'm able to see a much fuller picture and hold a lot fuller of a picture as a singing teacher and a yoga teacher. I'm able to see more and be able to talk to more and be able to move inwards and move outwards and understand how to hold space for the full picture, no matter if I'm scaling in or scaling out. It's been pretty wonderful to be able to feel like I'm hovering over versus lost within. So it's been quite an amazing thing for my teaching, and it's just continuing to inspire and feel like my understanding is continuing to move in a full direction, not just a forward direction, but expanding outwards auxetically. So that's
love
that's
that.
been very, very cool for me. And I even I'll end here. I even the other day just pulled up an article and recognized that I understood so many words that a year ago I had no idea, because I'm reading fossil research now, and I'm reading, things that were I still continue to be above my pay grade, so to speak. But my ability to understand what's going on and connect it to other things that I now understand too is really exciting for me. So I am endlessly grateful.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
let folks out there know that Jeremy's coming to you from Canada, right, Jer?
I'm in
Back
Ontario
in
now.
Canada again. Okay, who wants to follow up on Jeremy's really insightful comments? And the word that you keep repeating that I love is that fullness and the depth of opportunity to explore, for one, and understanding. And it never stops. There's always more to learn. Yeah, Maria, please. And then Kamila. Oh, wait, Kamila, you go first. You're unmuted. Maria isn't. Kamila, then Maria.
For me, it was more about being able to explain things that I'm experiencing and that are working for me, because till then it was just empiric, and I wasn't able to explain it in a scientifically based reasoning. And Biotensegrity explained it to me, and it opened wider range of possibilities of naming things, of creating new ways of treatment and cooperation with people, but also with myself, I would say, in my own practice.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Understanding biotensegrity gives us opportunities to then innovate in a new way, because we're seeing different things when we put on a different lens. Go ahead, Maria. Thank you, Kamila.
Thank you. Kamila said it as well, but for me, it also is bringing peace of between what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. I've been fascinated about fascia since I know it, and biotensegrity is allowing me to, I suppose, to put words and texture and to think about the holistic approach of the body and why strange things are happening with the patients that I treat, the most, the very impaired neurological patients. You don't understand why putting your hand on the neck is making their hind legs moving better. And your hands are understanding, but your brain is not comprehending. And I think that's the amazingness for me in biotensegrity. And I know this much of it, but it is opening that door, and also to have this community that knows so much. And yeah, that is biotensegrity for me at the moment.
Thank you, Maria. And I really echo what you say. And I want to add, like, this community, we get so much from each other because everybody brings their own insights, their own knowledge, and from various fields. But also, one of the things I appreciate about this community is shouldn't say even, but we have people like authors here, Graham Scarr and Susan Lowell, who have been immersed in biotensegrity for years and years, and you guys bring such a level of understanding, and yet have the generosity and the humility to say, yeah, okay, and to help us along, and also to acknowledge that we too have something to share. And both of you are just exemplary at that. And that enables us to learn more because we can ask more questions. We feel like we become an important part of the conversation. in terms of the concepts themselves, but I feel it also helps us learn and grow on a personal level, on a mental, emotional level and psychological level. And, that's one of the side benefits. But okay, let's get back to our question of why biotensegrity. And Leah, are you ready to answer our question for us?
Sure. For me, I have training as a Pilates teacher, and I love Pilates. I loved every part of my training in Pilates. However, for me, it felt lacking in its approach as the body as a whole. It felt quite linear. And luckily for me, I had an instructor who taught me, who was part of this community and was also able to weave in his training and his knowledge, which was it just resonated with me. And I remember sort of, because where I live in the world, it's just so apart from so many of the people in this community. And it was really hard for me to find anybody. And I just felt this hunger to understand how I could put that taste that I'd had into my own practice. And, through a lot of searching on the internet, found the archive on YouTube. And just touching on that generosity that you were talking about just then, there's so much available through the archive, through you guys who just give and give. And it's helped me connect to like courses like Susan's done, Graham's book, Susan's book. And I'm just a stay-at-home mum who teaches her kids homeschool, and I teach Pilates sort of on the side. It's not my full-time job. And I'm, so if, I'm in my pajamas, like anyone can do this. Anyone can go at a pace that works for you. And I feel like I've been following others like people in this panel for the best part of a year. And like Jeremy was saying, he's now reading stuff on fascial research. I might not be there yet, but that's okay, because I'm going at the pace that's right for me in my world. And so any amount you can give each week, and what you can read and what courses you can do, just do it, because it's fascinating. It's helped me in my movement practice. That follows through into my clients. It provides less linear approach to my Pilates work. I'm looking at the body as a whole. It's been brilliant journey.
Well, thank you, Leah. Yeah, this whole body approach, and it opens up more avenues of exploration. And to me, it's actually more fun too, which I'm all about play and fun. And I too was a stay-at-home mom. I taught yoga, and we can continue to learn. And I'm continuing to learn. And that's one of the things I love about this community. Now, I would like to make a distinction here, because I understand a lot of people are a bit confused, because they see me and Susan and Graham on the Biotensegrity parties, which are a fabulous resource. Anybody out there, I invite you to go over and watch any number of them. There's, I don't know how many now, but hours and hours and hours of really high quality stuff there. The three of us are board members of the Stephen M. Levin Biotensegrity Archive. And the archive is, the Biotensegrity Party is a production of the archive. And then Susan or Graham, if you want to pipe in and say.
Yeah, I just want to say, for those who don't know where it is, to go to the Biotensegrity Archive YouTube channel. And there's a lot of resources there, not just the tea parties, other videos as well.
Right. Thank you. And then Embodied Biotensegrity is Gwen and our project, Gwen and my project. So Gwen and I are the team behind Embodied Biotensegrity. And what we do is we offer Biotensegrity Trailblazers, which is a membership program, a membership plan, a community on 2 different levels, a basics and a full plan. And then we also offer courses with leaders in the field. So there is a distinction. And I've been hearing that sometimes people get confused because you see so many of the same faces on both. And this is really the first YouTube live that we have done as Embodied Biotensegrity. So let me pass the mic to Mariana, because Mariana, you've been in the trenches for a long time, and I want to hear your why. Why biotensegrity?
Dr. Steve always says, oh, it's complicated. And the more you learn, the more you see like, oh, it's really complicated. Like we thought it was that simple, but it's not. But in reality, biotensegrity really made my practice a lot simpler. Like it really simplified everything. And I know that the thought process is really like you can really get like, oh my God, I don't know this yet. I have to keep learning. But in reality, in practicality, it's just easier for me to understand what Maria was saying, like how to match what I'm feeling with what I'm thinking, and how like the having like that different map or model in your head, it just makes sense. It's easier. That those fights that I had before between my reality hands-on and what I was, what I learned from the book or from my classes, that fight is not there anymore, because now it's like that there's a coherence between what my head has, what my hands feel, and what I feel as well. Mm-hmm. So I think biotensegrity made that possible. And again, it just made it simple for me. And I'm grateful for that. So I ask, like, how could I live without biotensegrity before? How come I never, that's something that I always like, why I never thought about this before? Like, it's so obvious. It's so like, oh yeah, but like, how come I missed this? How come I missed this? So yeah, that's why absolutely important.
I was going to say, I think we all agree with you. Not just how could I miss this, but I can never go back. Yeah. Right? It's like
once you see it, it's impossible not to see it. It's like, of course, it makes so much sense, but I never thought about it.
Well, and then the other thing is because it is, and I love what you said, how, yeah, there is this complexity of concept, and yet it makes everything much simpler. And then my question of like, I could never go back is the question that follows is, how come more people don't know about this? And how come more people aren't working this way? I don't know if anybody wants to try and jump up and answer that question, or if we just want to let people know how to learn, how you're learning.
Can I add something before?
Yeah.
Because when I try to convince people that biotensegrity matters, the first thing is that most of them, they don't know that they need this, right? But they still have many missed links between what they're doing and how they're explaining what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I believe that first is realizing that we are somehow limited to how we explain things. And in my case, I'm talking as a physical therapist myself, that I was missing those deep understandings of what was happening. So I had these answers in my questions, but they were not deep enough. Mm-hmm. And the moment you realize that it doesn't like seems right, that sparks more questions, right? And then how you learn, that's a different story. But I think you first have to be curious about, what if I let myself maybe just open this book of knowledge or whatever, box of knowledge or videos of knowledge. What if I give it a try? Mm-hmm. Instead of going like, oh no, this is too complicated. It doesn't, just be curious to start with. Yeah. So, and we all agree, like we're here because we took Susan's course that last year, and that way, that opened a whole new conversation. Go, Maria. Yes, I tend to take the microphone for myself. So,
go ahead. You're muted, Maria.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Mariana. I was just saying, that Susan's course just made it to explode, at least for me. So, my God, where am I going from now? But answering to Chris' question, I think why I second what you were saying, Mariana, that why there is this resistance. It's, I think for me anyway, it's because it's sometimes difficult to think outside the box. You need to be prepared. You need to confront with your own limitations, and that's not an easy thing to do. Because you've spent a lot of time and money, studying and looking for answers, and you're now saying, are they not really valid, or not so valid, or not complete? Do I have to start all over again? And in a way, you do, but you don't. Like, it's not like, it's, you told me once, Mariana, that it just adds up to your knowledge. It doesn't cancel it. So that gave me a bit of a relief. But also, I think sometimes you need to be stuck with the options that you have in front of you to be able to think outside that box. So sometimes it's patience, sometimes it's your own health, sometimes it's someone else's health, and the answers are not there, but yet you do know that there might be something else, and maybe you've seen it in another way, but you still can't explain it. So for example, with neurological patients, you see their recovery doing something more gentle, or with more time, or with a different approach, and you see them progressing, but you still can't explain why. So that makes you search for answers, and then you find them, which is amazing.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, so we have first Jeremy, and then Gwen. I know you have something to say, but I realized I didn't ask Susan for her why biotensegrity. So you and Susan can decide in the chat who's going after Jer, and Jeremy, you can please go next while they make that decision.
I think Maria and Mariana basically just covered the two things that I felt were like the thing. Like, we don't go to see a doctor unless things are bad enough for ourselves. And so, like, when we're up against a challenge with whatever we do for our work, and we're like using our model to the end of our model, and then we go, but why isn't it working yet? We keep asking more questions, and then we find out that there are holes to poke in the model that we're using. But you have to be really curious. So you need to sort of have that challenge. You need to have enough like curiosity to overcome the challenge, or else you're just going to keep like butting heads and locking horns with your model. And so I think that's how it happened for me, at least, that I knew that there had to be more than what I was working with. And I'm completely confident continuing to ask question after question and let go of what I need to let go of. I think that's the challenging part, let go of the old baggage and be okay with that.
And it gives us also an opportunity to really be grateful for the bumps we have along the road, because that's what got us searching. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, and we don't know how many of those bumps in the road we're going to be coming up against, and we think we've gotten past them, and then we realize that the dominant frameworks and models that we kind of got educated in originally are embedded more deeply in our consciousness than we may originally be aware. So it's about layers and layers of learning. And in terms of the why biotensegrity, I think a lot of you already know this, but for me, I was trying to get a better understanding of Tai Chi, because I was a Tai Chi teacher, and that's what led me to it. Was another Tai Chi teacher who was also an acupuncturist, and he said, you've got to look at this Anatomy Trains book, which I got and which I started to do. And when I saw the drawing in the book of a tensegrity, I thought, I do not know what is being conveyed here. Something's being conveyed here that's I'm not getting. And by the end of that day, I had made myself a model. I was in total shock. I thought, why isn't everybody like knocking on every door and saying, guys, look, tensegrity. So I was, and the things that had previously seemed kind of odd or mysterious about the Tai Chi classic writings started to fall into place. And a lot of you know that the title of my book, Everything Moves, comes from a line from the Tai Chi classics. When one thing moves, everything moves. When one thing stops, everything stops. It didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand that I already knew systems that did that. But because I had a more machine and building framework for biology, I was blind to even what was going on in my own body and the bodies of my pets and students, and what was going on in plants, that is the way they work. When one thing moves, everything moves. So for me, it's about just better understanding of me, my world, my teaching, all of it. And that learning you don't get to the end of it. So if you think you're sort of in a been there, done that, yeah, I learned about that last week, I'm good. No, I don't think so, my friend. Steve hasn't gotten to the bottom of this yet, and he's been in it for 40 years or so. And the other thing I want to say is, if you think you understand what's going on with biotensegrity and you haven't built a model, I did not build this one, Bruce Hamilton did, but if you haven't built a model, if you haven't felt one in your hands, I don't think you have any reasonable experiential framework with which to jump into the discussion.
Awesome. Thank you.
So build a model. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
You had something you wanted to say.
Oh, super quick. It's not crazy, but I think for me, why biotensegrity is just like someone was talking about. Oh, Maria, you were talking about, you've got like gained all this knowledge, you've spent all this money on school, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's one of the reasons why biotensegrity was so like, oh my gosh, for me, was I was watching all of the systems that we have in our world right now not working anymore.
Yeah.
And going, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. And then all of a sudden finding something that was matching alongside some of even the philosophies that I was going, okay, this makes so much more sense. And it just was like, oh my gosh, there's a science that does it too. And change it, recognizing that like, sure, we can keep with the old, but is it working for us? Is it working for your body? Is it working for the world? Is it working for, and what's happening? And so that's for me of like this new way of seeing things was so profound for me.
It's paradigm shifting, really.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. You change one thing because it is so different from the conventional model. It's like dominoes. And so people can come from it from so many directions, but I know I'm getting little nudges around our timestamp here. So what I want to just say that Susan's book is awesome for learning about biotensegrity, as is Graham's. So we have here two of the essential books for those who want to learn about biotensegrity by reading and going through the exercises. In Susan's book, it's very experientially based. You're unmuted. You want to say something, Gwen, or no? Okay. So how else, like what are your key go-tos when you want to learn, or what have you found has been helpful in this learning, on this learning journey? Anybody? Go ahead, Leah. And everybody else,
Yeah.
Please feel welcome to unmute and add without me doing the orchestration.
Yeah, for me, I think what it provided me like a platform to finally relax into my personal practice, and also to with my clients as well. So so my foundation in terms of my training, as I said, was a little bit lineal. And so there was very structured kind of ways in which to do things. Now I practice completely different. It's become more fluid. but it's that sense of permission I give myself, because I'm trusting more in the body rather than the rules or the manual that I was given and followed. And so that brings me freedom and fun and lots of interesting conversations during class and exploration. And it's just freedom. It's brilliant.
Freedom and play. And it's like, who wouldn't want to work this way?
And
I mean, granted, maybe some people don't. That's up to them. I don't mean to judge, but I'm all on board. Go ahead, Susan.
I just want to make clear that for those who don't know, that biotensegrity isn't like a training method or an exercise method or a list of rules or something like that. It's a framework that's informed by a kind of relatively new structural possibility that was only discovered in the last 100 years. So before this, people didn't have this other framework available to them from which to ask questions. So what we do together is we kind of get in the sandbox and explore and talk to each other. And did you see this? Or what do you think about that? I noticed this. And the science of biotensegrity is really new and is emerging and evolving all the time, with each person who brings their different worlds of expertise to it. So we want you in the community. We need you. We need your perspective that you have that no one else has. You're going to be bringing something to the table, even if you're very new to this, that nobody else can bring. So I think that's important. Yeah.
I want to add to that, Susan, that something that for me was, you always have as a student or someone who's learning from someone else, this idea that, oh, he knows more than, that's why he's teaching me, or that's why she's teaching me. And what I got to experience with in particular with your course was, even if I don't know that yet, my process of getting there is also contributing to the group. And then the other part is how many different backgrounds we have in those groups. Like we it's not only therapists or doctors, like we had how many people from so many different activities and how they could see value and apply that knowledge into what they're doing. Like as Jeremy was saying, he's singing. I'm working with kids with cerebral palsy. Like we have nothing in common, but yet we have everything in common. Right. And that's something that for me, it's so like when I see and then we got to, in my case, Christian is an architecture, right? Like he's building stuff. And yet we see, like, we all see, oh, yes, of course. So I had this problem now that I can only see biotensegrity everywhere. It's like I cannot see it, even in buildings, I'm seeing biotensegrity. So it's crazy, I know. But I love that community part, that it was very, very important. And to know that it's okay if you don't know. It's okay. Because that process of learning, that adds to the whole experience, right?
Yeah, I think it's even more than it's okay. Not knowing is part of the process, that as we work our way through, that helps us become more clear, but it also helps the whole community. I know that those people that are willing to say, wait a minute, well, like Gwen does in the concept videos that we're making, it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to talk about math. And those videos are set up that way so that we can really speak to everyone. And by Gwen piping up and saying that question, not just Gwen, sorry, Gwen, putting you on I've done the same. That helps everybody learn, right? So I think people can expect to come against that uncomfortable feeling of not knowing.
And we're all always learning, all of us.
Well, we love that. We're
learning from each other. Yeah, and the embodied biotensegrity community has been really valuable to me, because for a very long time I felt like I was one of the only ones in the world, you know, and I wanted to pull the car over and yell at people on the street, Biotensegrity, you know, and so we get a little obnoxious sometimes with our families, Biotensegrity. And so to have a community that's, you know, we're ready to all nerd out together and go into this, and any question is game. You know, you don't have to be worried about upsetting somebody with a question. We love the new territory. We delight in it.
I think there's something.
So sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's something that's really kind of wonderful about the diversity in the group of learners. In a similar way that other people are commenting, it can be intimidating. Like I'm a baby in the world of body workers, but I got to be in the room with some masters, and that's amazing. But I was also in the room with some people who did things that I'm totally not interested in. But because I was going to play in the sandbox with them every week for a couple hours, suddenly I'm learning about things that I'm not actually interested in. But now 6 months later, there's knowledge that's coming through me. And I don't know where I know where I got it. I know when I got it, but I don't know when it started to make sense in me. And so just being in that place where you're like rubbing elbows with people that are interested in the same things, different things, and other things, but what's holding it together is biotensegrity. What I feel like is no matter what, I know it's an elephant. I'm not looking at the trunk. I'm not looking at the leg or the tail. No matter what, I know it's an elephant in front of me. I might know nothing about elephants, but I know that's a full elephant, at least as far as we are expanding our vision with biotensegrity, because maybe there's something bigger than elephants that we're not seeing yet with the model that'll be built on top of it or because of it.
That's awesome, Jeremy. Gwen, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I actually have really enjoyed taking on the role of my job has become asking the dumb questions that I should be embarrassed to ask stereotypically, but it's now my job. And so I get to, which means I get to learn so much more. And I love that experience of this community, that is what it's all about, is just, you get further when you're allowed to ask the dumb questions or stereotypical dumb questions.
And the answers to the dumb questions are always the most fascinating and full. I mean, like, ask those questions over and over again, because I want to hear all the answers over and over again.
Exactly.
And every time we listen again, we absorb something new in a new way. And then it leads off on all these other tangents, really, truly non-linear. Mm-hmm. In the way that we learn, in the way that our community interacts, and to have a bunch of people that are coming together, sharing in all directions, and really supportive of each other is so much fun, really.
And can I add, also so generous, the genius that Jeremy was talking about. I'm also very impressed to be in the room with them, and always humble, like no big deal, and also very, very willing to give their time, like Susan, Mariana, Chris, well, everyone, like truly, like time to help you out, and to find different ways, and to listen, and to, that is priceless, especially where you come from a very strict and regimental environment, where you have to kind of do the opposite. You have to prove your value first, and then you get helped. I don't know if that was good English, but I think you understood me. You kind of have to become something to get a bit of even a listening ear, and here is the opposite. And the willingness. So priceless.
That's really one of my big whys, is because when we shift paradigms and, to biotensegrity, all of these concepts sift out, and the community is also a whole constantly changing dynamic that isn't top down. And it's so rewarding. It's so fun. And I also feel like the way that the learning community has emerged is very much that way. They're metaphors for each other. So I know, Gwen, we wanted to keep this to go ahead, Kamila, and then Gwen, Kamila. But Gwen, I know we wanted to keep this short-ish. Kamila, and then Gwen, do you want to round up things?
I will try to make it short. I just wanted to say that this, what you just said, that it's not from the top down, and the vibe of the community and the way we learn is, for me personally, I see it spreading to the other areas. For example, when I work with the patient, it's not top down, it's like hierarchical, and the people are learning to ask questions and get curious why things happen. And then they are enjoying the process. They are enjoying the session much more. They are more present. They are not afraid. And that's like much better setup for learning something new. And I know, for example, Gwen is interested in soil, right? And for these days, I think it's quite a huge thing. If you're interested in something that's connected with environment, and you're not going from the top down, you're curious why it's happening, you're trying to understand. So this like lightness of our communication and the playfulness that I learned in the community in Susan's course. Her book is amazing resource. Graham's book is amazing resource. And everything is working like this. And the videos, let me just say, the videos you make with Gwen for the Trailblazers are like amazing. And I would recommend it to anyone to understand and go further. I just wanted to say that, because the original question you asked like 10 minutes ago was about where to get the knowledge.
Before Gwen wraps up, just to add here the part of the community that comes after. And I'm going to use the example of what happened after Susan's course. Some of us were PTs, physiotherapists, and we got together and we continue our own study group that a year later is still happening every week. So because of that community that was part of the group, more things emerged afterwards are so valuable. So it's an opportunity also to get to know, like-minded people that want to do more afterwards. So that was very important for me as well.
And also for the PT group, knowing you started at a certain level of a certain foundation of understanding. Whereas if you are just gathering physiotherapists in your, say, local community, that's great too. But with this particular group, I know you're playing in that sandbox. You come into it with the foundation that you got in Susan's course. I was blown away at how fast people were learning. I slogged along on my own learning journey. I still feel like I'm slogging along. And there were all these people that were having these insights, and it was just incredible. And I am so humbled and proud of creating a space for that to happen. Go ahead, Susan.
And can I say, one of my favorite things, every one of you had such great stories that you came back with. We would be exploring something in the course, you would be exploring something with Biotensegrity, and you were moved to do something in your practice or working with a client that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And then you try it, and then, oh my gosh, what a change. And I know Maria has these stories. Kamila, I would love if you can condense it, because I think, do we have 10 minutes? Are we ending on the hour?
Yes. We're trying to keep it as short as possible, but go, Susan.
Yeah, because if anybody wanted to just give in a nutshell, like a 1-minute synopsis of one of those stories, I would love it. I know Jeremy's got some as well.
Jeremy's got his hand up. He might as well go first. Well,
Just like you were saying, Chris, sort of like walking the path of trying to figure out more. I decided to just take a little chunk of the learning and focus on systems and complex adaptive systems, nonlinear systems, and preparing for a presentation. And that was fine. That was all well and good. And then like just 2-3 weeks ago, it all banged together and I understand the book that I'm writing and just dumped out 4,000 words in a minute. And I know what I have to do for the rest of the book, and it'll take me another 3 minutes. And it's really cool, and it's really simple. The simplest it possibly can be. And
Jeremy,
it's also
you're writing a book?
That's so
it's
exciting.
also non-linear. You don't need to start in the beginning. You could start on any page, and it's a choose your own adventure. So depending on what your goals are for your singing, you could decide to go in a series of directions and go through the book however you want, whatever you want.
That's so
simple.
exciting, Jeremy. Thank you. Okay, Kamila, did you want to respond to Susan?
Well, I was trying to remember what exactly you had in mind, and I was trying to get back months away for the course, and I remember that was like right in the beginning in the course. I had a client I was working with, very skillful, I would say, client, and he had pain, and I used one of your games, I think, from the book. I got inspired and I applied it for the whole body, because that's what actually Biotensegrity helped me to look at the body as one piece, because we are constantly dividing it into parts, and that's what we learn. And you're supposed to take it as a whole system, and you're probably not supposed to touch the place that it's hurting because it's somewhere else. It, but how do you do that? So I used some, I think it was the oxyticity movement from your book, and it was amazing, because this person who was just like ready for me to treat him hands-on, he was coming back every week. Less pain, actually no pain after like one session. It's very fast, I would say. And he was starting to go to playgrounds to play, and he was enjoying the movement more. And one other example for me, particularly, that's my favorite, because when I work with pregnant women or in women in general, I am very curious about how they tie the bras, or what clothes they wear, in a way, if it's fitting to the body or if there is any restriction. And thanks to my try to make the jitterbug, when I failed, I actually found some other option to use as an example of close kinematic chain, to show people what it means when they have this restriction, how the system is not communicating. So that's another example. I have plenty of more, but we don't have so much time, I think. So thank you again.
Thanks, Kamila. And that, all right, you gave that model as your final sharing with the group, and I remember just how beautiful it was, and the concept came across so clearly. Does anybody want to? Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
Where to start as well? I have had so many, but so many, how would you call it, revelations or very cool cases. Since the course, since Susan's course, one of course was Bo, where Mariana helped me and is still helping enormously. Is this dog that had a neck fracture, and 2 years ago, and since then she hasn't been able to stand. She's able to move her legs. She wasn't able to do that. When I reached to Mariana, she was at the point that she was able to move a little bit the hind legs, but nothing at the front, and not able to hold herself up. At that point, I was desperate, because there were, I don't know how many hours put into her from me and from Cara and from other people in the hospital, and she was improving this little bit, but not fast enough. Obviously 2 years is a long time to expect, you know, any owner to hold on there, and for her own you know, well-being. But with Mariana's intervention and way of looking at Bo in a total different way that I kept refusing at the beginning. I said, Mariana, you don't know what you're talking about. What sort of passive range of motion is this? Is this an absolute pro in cerebral palsy? I don't know. No, I knew she was a pro. But it did challenge my way of definitely seeing her movement or her lack of movement, and things like independence from, you know, extremities to the neck. And I never thought, anyway, Bo is improving and has improved like dramatically since we started Mariana's approach on the fascia and on gentle you know, yeah, there's just so much of it that but it's been amazing. And another one, that is also been like a big revolution in my world. It was a horse that wasn't able to blink for, I can't remember, I think it was 4 months that he had a fracture in this bone. And they thought that was, they couldn't do anything else in terms of the blinking. And that meant that he would have loads of ulcers, and that it's obviously very painful, and he had to lose the eye, but the owners weren't willing to do that. So his life was on threat, but they allowed me to try fascial work and using the biotensegrity concept, and he is blinking. And he did that in 2 months. So, and that is something that it wouldn't be possible without thinking outside the box. And the last thing is that then that has led to a huge curiosity for what is it that is happening really in the fascia, and then more research, hopefully with the help of all of you, will come. But it's been a journey for sure.
I just love those stories so much. It gets me so excited. So, okay, I think we need to call this to a close. Thank you guys so much for sharing and participating with us today. And we just want to take the last couple minutes to just share that we are actually offering Susan's course again. And we're so excited to do that because the first round was, as you can tell, pretty incredible for a lot of us. And so we're going to go through it again, and we're starting this January. We're just doing it a little bit differently this time. We're going to do three months, but we're spreading it over 5 months. So we have lots of integration time, because if you're like me, you need lots of integration time. So it's going to be awesome to be able to just take our time and do it a little bit slower and really, really absorb. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that. But all that to say, we are having an early bird special until December 7th. That's 15% off the entirety of the course. But just for the next 2 days, we're also offering a Black Friday special. So that's 20% off for the next 2 days. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to do all of the links onto YouTube. So that will be in the comments of the YouTube page. I'm going to have it on our Facebook group. All of that information is going to be available for you to take advantage of in the next couple minutes. So yes, Susan.
But
if
you're really interested, if you're really committed to learning about biotensegrity, become a trailblazer and become a member in embodied biotensegrity. This is where the discussion is really ongoing. It's really happening. It's wonderful. It's very nurturing. And you can be at any level when you start, and you get a better discount. Right, guys? If you're a member of Trailblazers.
Yeah.
I want to just
Susan.
Just thank you for that, Susan. And also say for those of our friends who are regular attendees at the Biotensegrity Tea Party events, The Trailblazers are kind of like a little mini intimate tea party. Not so much giving, we don't often have presentations and following up. It's the discussion part. And the level of discussion blows me away.
Yeah.
Every time. So yeah, join us.
We'd love you to come.
We'd love for you to come. And, you know, Susan and Graham, you're often there. Leah, you're often there. And I know Kamila, you're often there. Mariana, you're often there. And sometimes life comes and go. Yeah. And Maria, yeah, you know, it's like, it is like the sandbox, isn't it, Susan?
Well, and the book club, which is every month, one meeting a month is a book club, and that helps keep me on track. You know,
you actually read the book.
Yeah, because believe me, I got a long list of these are the things I want to read, and this will take one thing and move it to the front, and then I can focus on it with a group of people, and that's just very, very delightful and helpful.
Well, especially for people like us who learn in community well and who learn by speaking out loud what we're thinking. It's very useful. I want to just jump in. Gwen, you did say that we've got these 2 specials for Susan's course. For anybody who is looking to get those, when you check out, right before I think you add your credit card number. So you've got to do a couple of links. There's a little tiny gray coupon code, and that's where you enter your coupon code. So if it is before the end of this weekend, Black Friday, one word, all caps, that will give you 20% off. If it's before the end of Tuesday, December the 7th, and this is 2021. I say that because we'll probably leave this up on our YouTube channel because you guys have shared so much information that's interesting and valuable. And the early bird one is early bird, one word, all caps. Okay, so Gwen, do you want to go ahead?
Become a trailblazer. That's your best deal.
Yeah, thanks. And it's so much fun. Okay, Gwen, do you want to close up, or shall I invite everyone to unmute and we'll close up together?
Sorry, I'm totally forgetting. There is one last thing that we need to tell you about, which is really, really important. And it's actually a free event, which you want to be at. And that is next Tuesday. We are doing a webinar with Susan. And she is going to be doing a Q&A on kind of misconceptions and misunderstandings within biotensegrity, and it's going to be brilliant. So stay posted. We're going to post all of that information for you guys as well on the Facebook group and right here at the YouTube channel. So yeah, come on by. It's next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you guys will join us because it's going to be brilliant.
And for the webinar too, Gwen, people are going to be able to hop on Zoom with us and
that's right,
be part of the discussion as opposed to typing away in a chat box on YouTube.
It's going to be live on Zoom.
And I would also encourage people to go to the biotensegrityarchive.org website and get on the email list, and then you'll find out about things like the next tea party and other events that are coming up. It's just a great community. Thank you.
Thanks you guys so much. You're all brilliant. Thank you to everyone watching.
You're welcome to unmute.
And for anybody who wants my book, get on, if you're in the United States or the UK and you get on or Graham's book, you've already got Graham's book, right? Anyway, get on to the Handspring Publishing email list and you'll get 20% off their books with free shipping to the US and the UK.
It doesn't work in Canada.
I know.
Okay, so again, thank you, all of you. I'm going to go in order in my screen here. Graham, Mariana, Kamila, Maria, Leah, Susan, and of course, Gwen. And we're going to say goodbye to everyone on YouTube. And if you want to stick around for a little